Welcome to the inaugural Courageous Leadership Colloquium. I'm your host, Dr. Kelly Corey. I'm the facilitator of the University of Olivet Leadership Learning Community and the director of the Master of Arts in Leadership program. Most importantly, though, I'm a colleague of a group of inspiring, courageous servant leaders who have come together to share their thoughts on courageous leadership with you at the intersection of courage and leadership, and why that intersection is so critical to the success of bringing people together around a common vision to achieve positive change in our organizations, communities, and relationships. Our thoughtful, practical sessions will illuminate situations in which leaders put principles first, foster safe environments, challenge the status quo, embrace vulnerability, take calculated risks, and face challenges head-on. All of which are behaviors of courageous leaders that are suggested by James Dietert in the Harvard Business Review. The stories you'll hear are inspiring, and the strategies will be terrific additions to your leadership toolboxes. During our 12 sessions, some of our thought leaders will be broadcasting remotely from around the US, and some will be coming to you live from the Kula Samba Theater here at the University of Olivet. You're welcome to pose questions to our speakers using the Q&A feature on Zoom, and most of them will have a Q&A time at the end of their talk. If you're here on campus, you're welcome to come over to the library, to the lower floor, and grab a coffee and some snacks. We've got some great pumpkin tarts and all kinds of neat breakfast things right now, and later we'll have some other kinds of snacks. And you can watch the presentations live in the Kula Samba Theater. We have had one change to our program. Our facilitator for session 5, Ironman Dr. Danny Powell, was unable to join us due to an urgent trip he needed to take. We'll definitely invite him back next year, or even for a webinar later this year on coaching for sustained courage. In the meantime, for session 5, if that's on your calendar for today, we've curated 4 of our favorite courageous leadership TED Talks, 4 of the most widely watched videos. Together, they've earned over 7.6 million views. These are some big ideas brought to you by young adults who have put it all out there and created change. We hope you'll find value in hearing from Drew Dudley, Derek Sievers, Lovey Jones, and David Davis. Another artful addition to this event is a networking event hosted by the Women's Leadership Institute. WLI members have created an event that's more than just walking around and talking. You'll be involved in connection-building activities while enjoying snacks and drinks. Simply show up at 5 o'clock in the lower level of the library, scan the QR code, grab a networking guide, and start building campus connections. Another exciting feature of the colloquium is the opportunity to continue the conversation offline in our Leadership Learning Community portal on Canvas. It is Canvas Room LDR 900. If you're writing it down, LDR 900. If you have access to the University of Olivet Canvas account, you can join the community conversations around each one of the thought leaders' topics that they shared today. Starting today, the learning community, again, it says 600. The learning community LDR 900 is open to you to share your thoughts, opinions, and next steps around each of the topics. You simply click the link that says community conversations when you get into the room, and then all of those community conversations will be right in a line, and you can click on any of them and have some great conversations. As I mentioned, the home base of the event is in the Kula Samba Theater on the University of Olivet campus. We chose the most appropriate place on campus to host conversations on courageous leadership in the theater named to honor the memory of a bold, dedicated, selfless servant, a University of Olivet alumna, Major Kula Samba. Kula was a 1973 graduate of Olivet College and former Minister of Social Welfare, Children, and Gender in Sierra Leone. As a student, Kula was an active member of the Olivet Congregational Church, College Choir, International Club, and Sigma Beta Society. After graduation, she earned a master's degree in nursing and became a United States citizen. As violence increased in her homeland, though, she gave up her career and she returned to Sierra Leone, working to disarm child soldiers through a United Nations funded program. While serving in the administration of the President Ahmad Tehan Kaba, a military junta took control of the government. Major Samba was invited by the junta to continue her work, saving the child soldiers. But when President Kaba returned to power, he found Samba and 23 others guilty of treason. They were executed by a firing squad on October 10, 1998. The trial and executions were condemned by many, including Amnesty International, as a serious violation of human rights covenants. The theater, the Kula Samba Theater, was dedicated to honor and remember Major Kula Samba's extraordinary life on the first day of January in 2008. We hereby dedicate this and all future iterations of the Courageous Leadership Colloquium to Major Kula Samba, to honor and remember her sacrifice through all of her efforts to be more and do good for humanity. You can learn more about Kula Samba's life in the link to an article that's in our chat room. Feel free to just copy the link. Much of Major Samba's story is available to us because of the dedication and efforts of our first thought leader, the Reverend Michael Fales. Mike, to those of us here at Olivet, was a personal friend of Kula Samba while she was a student at the University of Olivet. Her work and others before and after her have strengthened Reverend Fales' resolve to be more and do good, and to be a model to all in the Olivet community. We'll be meeting Mike during our first session. Courageous leadership has always been a part of the University of Olivet. It's not likely, though, that back in 1884 it was called courageous leadership. The actions you'll learn about that made Olivet what it is today were simply doing what the founders thought was the right thing to do. Since then, society has named and framed courageous leadership. Before we jump into our first session, let's dig into that concept a little. We'll start with the definition of leadership that we've adopted here at the University of Olivet, adapted from Peter Northhouse's definition. Leadership is a process whereby an individual uses their knowledge, skills, and abilities to influence a group of individuals to achieve a common goal. A process between people, not just a person exerting power on everyone else. The process influences people to see a common vision and to achieve a common goal that's often much bigger than just those people. Sometimes the goal is transformative. That process requires knowledge, skills, and abilities like the variety that we teach here at Olivet, particularly in our Master of Arts in Leadership program and in the Women's Leadership Institute. So we've defined leadership. It's one of hundreds of definitions. Yours may be different, and that's okay as long as you're seeking to do good with it. Now let's define courage. Courage is the mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, or withstand danger, fear, or difficulty, according to the Webster's Dictionary. Nelson Mandela tells us it's not the absence of fear, but triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Richard Daft, in the Leadership Experience, says that it's pushing beyond the comfort zone, asking for what you want, saying what you think, and fighting for what you believe. Brene Brown, in her book, Dare to Lead, says courage is to choose what's good, right, and kind, even when it's hard or scary. And finally, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. tells us that courage is an inner resolution to go forward despite obstacles. People can have a variety of kinds of courage, which fuels their mission of going above and beyond to make a difference in organizations, communities, and people's lives. We have intellectual courage, which is knowing how to take something to the next level. We have follower courage, being willing to do what it takes, regardless of your power or your position. We have moral courage, which is standing up for what's right, using values like honesty, integrity, care, humility, and liberty. Creative courage, to come up with something new, to solve problems. And finally, biological courage, the physical and mental strength and fortitude it takes to persevere and persist to the end. When we build our courage, we're able to push ourselves to build our skills and knowledge, even when it's hard, and hold fast to our values, even when it would be easier to go with the flow of careless, heartless living. With these skills and values of steel, we are equipped to embrace our mission and stay focused on our vision when we're forced to make difficult decisions, and inspire those around us to do the same. When we're courageous in our leadership, we get results. This leads us to the definition of courageous leadership, coined by Dr. Cheryl Robinson. Courageous leadership involves navigating through uncertainty with confidence and making decisions that may not be popular, but are necessary. It requires standing up for what's right, even when it's challenging, encouraging others to voice their ideas and concerns, and being transparent about the challenges ahead and inspiring the team to strive for excellence despite the odds. Remember this definition as you learn and grow today through the stories and strategies our thought leaders share. It's yours to embrace if you want to. When you're a courageous leader, you'll be expected to do some very unique and difficult things. The neat thing about courageous leadership, though, is that you won't dread it like a dirty job, at least not most of the time. You'll be excited and inspired and energized, knowing that the result of your work will result in new opportunities and sometimes even life itself when you fight for those who can't fight or win on their own. Our behaviors include putting principles first, fostering safe environments, challenging the status quo, embracing vulnerability, taking calculated risks, and learning from failure. You may be familiar with the charge we have here at Olivet, the consideration we must make as we prepare to go out in the world. If you weren't familiar, you will be right now. The future of humanity rests in the hands, hearts, and minds of those who will accept responsibility for themselves and others in an increasingly diverse society. We have work to do, and it requires courageous leadership. As you embark on the work, use the questions leadership theorist Hildy Gottlieb suggests that we ask. What is the future you wish to create? What will it take to get there? Who else cares about this? And what can we do together that we can't do on our own? And when the opportunity to lead courageously comes, say yes. You may not have all the knowledge, skills, and abilities right now, but you can learn. We all can and must learn and continue learning how to lead well. That's why we're here, the University of Olivet, to help fill the toolbox for courageous leaders. Each one of us has the capacity and endless opportunities to be more and do good for the world. I hope that through the conversations you engage in with thought leaders today, you'll be inspired to build your courageous leadership and get out there with it, and then come back and tell your story. And when you need more tools in your toolbox, let's talk about what's next. We're going to close the introduction now and move forward with meeting our first thought leader in about 15 minutes. Remember that you can jump into the sessions at any time using the same link that you came into the program with this morning. And each session will be recorded so that if there's something you want to see, but you're not able to get there, we will have it posted in the Leadership Learning Community, as well as on our U Olivet Leadership Learning Community YouTube channel. Thanks so much for joining in. Looking forward to seeing you at some of the sessions later today. Have a terrific start to your day.